always said, once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
Giants fans, welcome back to another episode of Only a Giant. Happy to be here on this lovely Thursday morning / afternoon here. Cuts are all done. Really kind of everything at this point. We're kind of buttoning up the roster. There still could be some moves, but you don't really know at this point. Obviously, we made a few claims, had the Malik Neighbors news. A lot going on today as far as, still a week and a half or so from the Giants actually playing a game, but it just feels like there's a lot of news and a lot of things going on where normally it feels a little bit more like a dead time. But I could be wrong on that. But anyway, guys, like and subscribe as normal if you could. Really appreciate the support, trying to help grow the channel here. I guess first thing we'll start off with was attire choice here. We got a little Dave shirt. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I do love me some Dabes and Joe Shane. Obviously, two big hires that I've been happy with. Obviously, we have not had the results that we exactly want, including draft picks, stuff of that nature. But I do still trust both of them at this point here to hopefully get this ship corrected and kind of rolling in the right way. It's so easy to forget, guys. 2022, yeah, I know a lot went the right way, but we did win a playoff game. Last year was just so bad that it kind of really overshadowed everything else that happened in 2022. And it's a what can you do for me now type of league. So I understand that, but just something to, kind of remember. It's not all bad. Last year, I hope last year was kind of an anomaly with what we're seeing and really everything that could have went wrong last year went wrong. But anyway, guys, that's neither here nor there. Let's really just kind of jump in. First thing I want to talk about is the final 53-man roster. Obviously, this is a little bit of a living, breathing roster. As far as what happened, I'm not going to go through each individual person, I guess, on the final 53, but I'll go through just a few surprises. Quarterback, status quo. We thought 3 quarterbacks were going to be kept, especially with the injuries to Drew Lock and Daniel Jones injury history. Not surprising. I still wouldn't be completely against making some type of change with quarterback 3 if somebody comes clean or someone comes free that Dable and Shane like. But I think probably at this point, I think Tommy DeVito is our 3rd quarterback, and that's what it'll be this year. Running back, status quo. Only thing that kind of sucks is you lose Dante Miller, or you cut Dante Miller, I should say, but he is back in the practice squad. So kind of expected, to be completely honest with you. That's what I predicted. I think I only had 3 wrong on my overall 53-man roster prediction, which is pretty good, with what we did there. One of the surprises and one of the ones I did get wrong was Jakob Johnson being cut. Did not expect that, although he is already back on the practice squad, and I think he'll stay there. He'll be on this team all year. I think that there'll be games that we do call him up, maybe game plan specific. Maybe they call him up every week. Who really knows? At some point, I wouldn't be shocked to see him officially on the 53-man roster for the rest of the year. I just think there's value to having the fullback. He showed in the few preseason snaps that we saw with him that he is a good blocker. He knows what he's doing. And if we can establish a run game that doesn't have to be dominant, but gets 4 or 5 yards on a carry, if we need those short yardage downs that we can get those yards that we need, I think that's really going to go a long way in opening up the passing game even a little bit more. I do still think that this is going to be somewhat more of a passing team with Dable running the ship. But I do think that makes it even more imperative to have a strong running game to help alleviate some of the pressure from the passing game, make the reads a little bit easier for Daniel Jones, make the running lanes for Daniel Jones maybe a little bit more open as well. I do think he's still going to run the ball and be effective. Wide receiver, probably the biggest surprise is Bryce Ford Wheaton making the team. I didn't really expect that, but he's kind of had a quiet camp, but he must have done enough through special teams and just shown enough to keep him on there. But that comes with a cost. Allen Robinson cut, Miles Boykin cut, He was the other one that I projected would make the team that got cut. Isaiah Hodgins cut. Now, Miles Boykin and Isaiah Hodgins both are back on the practice squad, so that's good. Allen Robinson, however, did sign with the Lions practice squad. That's a player I didn't really want to lose, but I think the writing was on the wall. I just like that he had some good veteran leadership. He looked polished out there when he was running routes, and he was helping Jalen Hyatt a lot. I think with just learning the intricacies of the position, a little bit of veteran kind of guidance and leadership for him. Hopefully, that has a good impact and a lasting impact on Jalen Hyatt. I wish Allen Robinson nothing but good luck with the Detroit Lions. I have no ill will for him. Good luck. Probably the biggest surprise for me, and I did predict this, but it was more of like a man. I just hope he makes this team, and I kind of really kind of hammered that point home. Jake Kubas making the final 53, pumped for that. He also seems to have made it through kind of that second wave, at least so far, of additional roster moves and stuff of that nature. Made the 53 man. Will he be active on game day? Maybe not. Maybe I'm not really sure. Obviously, you don't necessarily want him starting too much this year. Let him get some work on the team and practice, stuff of that nature, and see what he has next year. Next year might be a year where he competes for a starting guard position, or at least that right away second team backup. Maybe he has it already this year. I don't know, but pump that he made the team. That was probably my biggest wish, that would make the team, and he did. So awesome. What else, guys? Offensively, that was pretty much it. Defensively, defensive line, no real, big surprises there. Linebacker probably is where more of the surprises happened. Deontay Johnson made the team, which I'm pumped about. I didn't know if he would make the team. I thought he might be an IR guy right away. He made the 53-man roster initially, and then they did put him on short-term IR. Who else? Ben Whitley made the team. Pumped about that. That's the right call. I was hoping that they wouldn't hang on to some veterans over him, just because of them being veterans. Darian Beavers cut. I don't think he's on the practice squad at this point. I'll double check on that probably here in the next couple of hours. And then cornerback Trey Herndon cut. I predicted it. It still is a little surprising. I just thought that might be somebody that would still hang on. A veteran guy that has the capability of playing slot and outside. Didn't really show too much in preseason, although he did have one of maybe our only interception in preseason, but then he fumbled it away. Another guy that I don't see on the practice squad at this time. Maybe they make a change there. I'm not sure. But as of right now, he is not on the practice squad. Another cut, Darnay Holmes, cut from the 53. The right call as well. Another player that I thought they may try to hang on to, but what I saw in week 3 of preseason was horrible. Lack of effort on tackling, just didn't really seem like he was in the game. Played all that third preseason game, even though he was hurt. I think he continued to play. So somebody that I'm glad they made the move. I think that there were some other positions where that allowed the flexibility of keeping Jake Kubas and some other players. Obviously, going into these cuts, you think probably as well will make some waiver claims at the cornerback position. Didn't happen, but we'll get into that in a moment. It sounds like Darnay Holmes is joining the Oakland Raiders with his old defensive coordinator, Perry Fewell. So another one that you kind of just wish the best. Good luck. Move on, and that's it. Nothing that I'm really sad about losing, to be completely honest with you. Safety, my probably biggest sadness, I guess, is Javarius Owens made the initial 53, and then he was cut for Anthony Johnson Jr., who he brought in as a waiver claim. My assumption is that he will make it onto the practice squad. That is not official yet. We'll see what happens. I really do hope that he makes it onto the practice squad, because I do like him. I do think he's a good player. He's got to stay healthy though. And that's kind of been his biggest bugaboo, I guess, if you will, as far as keeping a roster spot on this team or on the practice squad. So we'll see what happens there. That's the basic 53 man to start. There were a couple other corresponding moves, including Isaiah McKenzie being placed on season ending IR. I didn't really expect that. I didn't have him making the team. Um, I didn't realize that the injury was that bad, and I'm not sure if maybe it was something where maybe the injury really wasn't that bad, but they're doing IR just to let him get through the injury concerns, and then he can maybe negotiate some type of settlement, and then be cut at that point. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens there. Deontay Johnson, as I mentioned, is on the short-term IR, and Matthew Adams as well as being placed on the short-term IR. Deontay Johnson, hopefully he has a place on this team. I do like everything I've seen from him so far. Another player that kind of needs to stay healthy. We'll see what happens after week 4 when he is eligible to return. Waiver claims. That's the next topic we'll talk about here, guys. And I was pretty excited about waiver claims. I mean, that was probably my biggest excitement yesterday, just kind of waiting to see who we might claim at 12 o'clock. And you kind of get the initial reports of who was claimed by the Panthers, and you're like, oh, crap. We're not getting anybody that we wanted. But my major guys that I really wanted to target were Keenan Isaac, cornerback out of Tampa Bay, Ricky Stromberg, center out of Washington, and Neville Gallimore as a free agent out of Miami. Keenan Isaac was claimed by the Carolina Panthers with a first waiver claim. Ricky Stromberg is not on a roster at this point. He is injured, so it may have something more to do with that, to be honest with you. And then Neville Gallimore still has not been signed as far as I know, so nothing happened there. Really, the only claim that the Giants put in was for Anthony Johnson Jr., 24-year-old player, came from the Green Bay Packers, was drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the 7th round. Like I mentioned, he's 24 years old, drafted in the 7th round. He did start 4 games last year as well. Now, who is this guy? Came from Iowa State, played 4 years as a cornerback for Iowa State. I wonder if there's any flexibility with that, if they see him more as a corner, or if they're going to stick with him specifically at safety. He's rangy, has good speed, lays a hit, guy that can really lay the wood. He just seems to maybe sometimes take some bad angles. His missed tackle rate is really high from what I've heard as well. He did come back to Iowa State for a 5th year with the COVID eligibility stuff, and that is the first year that he played safety. So kind of raw as a safety probably as well, and definitely somebody that I think was a surprise that Green Bay cut. Maybe it was something to do with McKinney being there and kind of an overloaded room. So maybe we give you McKinney and we take Anthony Johnson Jr. I'm not sure. Either way, last year he had 194 coverage snaps, only allowed 5 receptions, had 1 interception, 1 fumble forced, 1 incompletion forced, and only allowed a 68.8% passer rating, 68.8 passer rating when targeted. So definitely a guy I'm intrigued by. Makes sense why they made the claim. See what he does on this team. If he is somebody that's active on game day, if he can contribute to the safety room, I'm not sure. One other addition that was made after the fact, it looks like more of like a veteran signing. He's played in the league for 4 years at this point, so I believe he's a vested veteran, is Curtis Bolton, 28-year-old coming out of Oklahoma, was undrafted, bounced around the league a little bit with the Lions, the Raiders, and then the Miami Dolphins. This preseason, he actually kind of made a name for himself a little bit. Had a 87.1 PFF grade overall, 82.1 grade in run defense, and 81.1 grade in pass coverage. Now it is preseason. That sounds like his best contributions to the Miami Dolphins this year, but he ultimately was still cut. My assumption with him is maybe a placeholder till Deontay Johnson comes back. A player I'm interested to see what happens with him, and maybe KJ Cloyd also has an impact on this too. Maybe he gets called up, and we'll see what happens there. That's actually a player I forgot to mention as well that I did hope had made the 53 but did not. So we'll see what his role in this team is. Maybe he's a special team player, maybe he isn't. I don't really know. But we'll see what the Giants think. And my guess is we'll probably start seeing right away if this is a player that they predict to be on the 53-man roster or 49 active players on game day or not. We'll see. So that kind of comes down to the practice squad, guys, and it's really filled out with a lot of Giants. There are a few players that were not Giants that were claimed, but Miles Boykin's on the practice squad, a player that I wouldn't be shocked to see called up on game day for his special teams capabilities. Dante Miller's on the practice squad. Isaiah Hodgins is on the practice squad. Lawrence Cager's on the practice squad. KJ Cloyd, like I just mentioned, is on the practice squad. Who else, guys? Jakob Johnson, who wouldn't be shocked if he's called up. I think I already kind of mentioned that. Tamon Fox, Alex Johnson, Marcellus Johnson, Raheem Lane, Jude McAtamney, the Irish kicker, who has an exception, I believe, because he's a part of the International Pathway Program. Jimmy Morrissey, Joshua Miles, Casey Rogers, and Ty Summers, who was claimed from another team. Not claimed, but on our practice squad from another team. Sounds like the last couple of spots will come down to maybe Javarius Owens. Last I heard, too, according to Art Stapleton, Elijah Garcia and Art Green are both on their way to New York to potentially join the practice squad. I believe there's only one spot left, but we don't really know exactly what's going on. Last I saw, as of like an hour ago, it looks like maybe Art Green is a guy that's being claimed. That's a cornerback. Don't know anything about him. We'll see in the coming days here what he offers, if he is strictly a practice squad guy or what they really view from him. What else, guys? We've been kind of chugging along here. Really, I think the big stuff after this revolves around number changes, and we'll kind of get into that in a moment here. Theo Johnson changed to number 84. Bryce Ford Wheaton to number 88. Jakob Johnson, 89. Those are the main roster number changes with the Giants. And then the big one, guys, Malik Neighbors, number 1. Pumped about that. Really like what I see with that. LSU connection, Jamar Chase, number 1. Maybe that's part of that is the reason why he wanted number 1. I love it personally that they unretired this. Ray Flaherty's family approved it, gave the blessing for the Giants to do that. Something that I think probably Malik Neighbors takes with a lot of pride and responsibility, honestly, too. I think this is something where I was originally worried about whatever number that he takes this year, that he may just change again next year. And I do kind of want to get a Malik Neighbors jersey. But I think you don't take number 1, get it unretired and then change the number at that point. I don't think that's happening. So I think number 1 is his for the time being, and that's going to be his number for his career. A lot of old timers don't really like this, unretiring a number for a rookie. Ray Flaherty is actually the first ever player, I believe, to ever have a number retired, which is kind of cool. But I like it. It's kind of a breath of fresh air with Joe Shane and with ownership. I feel like previous management with Gettleman or even Ernie, of course, if you're really going back further, or Jerry Reese, something that probably would not have ever happened. But I like it. I'm pumped about it. I think it's a good move, and kind of to the point of like the old timers here that are flustered by this or don't like it. This is going to have to happen sooner or later, guys. I'm going to throw a list up here of the numbers retired by the Giants right now. Ray Flaherty, number 1, obviously unretired at this point. Tuffy Lehman's number 4. And maybe even we'll just kind of go over the numbers in between there. So Drew Lock has number 2. Deontay Banks has number 3. Kayvon Thibodeau has number 5. Jamie Gillian has number 6. Melhine, not sure, has number 7. Daniel Jones, 8. Graham Gano, 9. Eli Manning, 10. Obviously, Daniel Jones and Graham Gano, those aren't retired numbers, but those are active numbers that are currently on the Giants. Eli Manning, 10. Phil Simms, 11, both retired. 12 is open. So Malik Neighbors could have went with 12, but I really don't like the number. It didn't look good on Darren Waller. Didn't like the number in general. So that number is open. Jalen Hyatt has 13 right now. Y.A. Tittle and Ward Cuff have number 14. 17's open. Oh, no, it's not. 17's not open. Wan'Dale Robinson at 17. Isaiah Hodgins, 18. Isaiah Simmons, 19. 32, L. Blozis. Don't know him. 40, Joe Morrison. 42, Charlie Connolly. 50, Ken Strong. 56, Lawrence Taylor. 92, Michael Strahan. Other numbers in the 80s that receivers would normally have. 80, Gunnar Olszewski, 81, Miles Boykin, 82, Daniel Bellinger, 83, Lawrence Cager, 84, Theo Johnson now, 85, Chris Manhertz, 86, Darius Slayton, 87, Isaiah McKenzie, 88, now Bryce Ford Wheaton, 89, Jakob Johnson. So it was kind of a weird spot where there wasn't really a lot of choices for him unless he kind of bullied 88 from Bryce Ford Wheaton, which I'm sure he could have gotten over Bryce Ford Wheaton, or 87 out of Isaiah McKenzie, or 84 out of Theo, but it just wasn't like a good fit. He wanted a low number. There was virtually none available. So I do think that this was the right move. And I got to be honest with you guys, it might happen a little bit more here in the future, depending on kind of who comes over. Obviously, roster turnover is big. So some of these numbers next year may be available. But I just think in general, the Giants have a lot of numbers retired, and I wouldn't be shocked to see this kind of become a trend here in the near future, maybe the next 5 years or so. Some players having to unretire their number, or maybe the family's giving the blessing for it. Now, that's not going to happen for every Joe Schmo off the street or every 5th or 6th or 7th round pick. Hopefully we don't have another high draft pick this next year. But if it does happen, I wouldn't be shocked to see it happen again. Maybe this will be a trend kind of moving forward. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Lastly, guys, I want to kind of do maybe just like a little prediction after preseason. Nothing really changed that much for me. I didn't love what I saw from the offense, but I did love the fact that we seem to be moving the ball. We seem to be pushing the ball downfield. The other big thing that I did like to see is, according to Connor Hughes, 2 Jet sources that he believes that the Giants offensive line will be solid this year. And that's kind of high praise for me coming from the Jets, from those joint practices, because that defensive unit is a tank, man. That is a good defense. That's going to be a tough defense to play. Just based off what I saw from the Jets, I don't really want this to happen, but they might actually have a really good team this year. If Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, if the offense can be somewhat competent, which I think they will be, that defense is going to alone probably have a chance to win them some games. And if Aaron Rodgers can be half the quarterback that he was for Green Bay, or maybe 3/4 of that quarterback, they might be tough this year. So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, I guess in general, my general thought for like an average for the Giants at this point, 8 wins is certainly feasible. Will they win 8 games? I don't know. I think a lot will depend on the offensive line, which is obvious. We just talked about that, and Daniel Jones. But I do think 8 wins is feasible. I really think the floor probably is 7 wins, and I think that might be low, guys. I think it's a kind of a small window. But I like 7 to 10 wins is probably where I think the floor and the ceiling is. And if I had to put an actual guess on it, or a prediction on it, I think we're going to go with 9 wins. I think 9 is certainly a good number. I think that might not be enough to make the playoffs, but I think that's enough to, if we get 9 wins, Daniel Jones throws 25 touchdown passes, and he's probably going to have more interceptions this year, just because I do think we're going to push the ball downfield a little bit more. I think that's enough to probably keep him around. We're probably going to be picking in the 20s at that point, and not really in a spot to get a quarterback. But guys, do you want to root for losing? No, I don't. So I'm going to go with 9 wins, and that's kind of my prediction at this point. Floor 7, ceiling 10. If you get to 10, awesome. I think that we're somewhere in the middle of that 2022 season and that 2023 season. But I think that there is more of a ceiling this year because of the offensive line. I do think the offensive line is going to be much improved. Not sitting here saying it's going to be a top 10 offensive line, but it will be an improved offensive line. All right, guys. So what's next? What's kind of moving forward? What are we doing? I did wait till this morning to get this episode out because I wanted to see what Joe Shane and Brian Dable said in their presser last night. They had a presser at like 5:30. Really nothing crazy kind of came out of it, unfortunately. Not that I expected anything kind of crazy, but I wanted to hear if they made more claims, if they made any other claims on any other players, if they had anything else saying about the roster or any other moves. really the only takeaway I had out of that is Evan Neal. They pretty much said that no, they're not moving him to guard. He's going to be a tackle. And I mean, realistically, guys, even though I still didn't really like what I saw in that third preseason game from him, he's had a handful of practices. This guy needs some more work. This guy needs more practice. He's going to be the backup right tackle, maybe a swing tackle, someone that I wouldn't be shocked to see him maybe just get a couple of reps here and there throughout the games, just to get his feet wet, get him back and see what he offers next year. Last padded practice, I believe, is today, and then they do have a few days off, and then we have Labor Day coming up, and guys, Tuesday next week will be the first kind of game week where, you know, Wednesday will probably be the first injury report, I believe. And excuse me, and we'll start getting some info. We'll start seeing, you know, depth charts, getting ready for game day. I'll probably have a preview pod out Tuesday or Wednesday next week, if I had to guess, probably with a prediction for the game as well. May do a just like an overall pick'em type thing with the games throughout the league. I think that'll be something fun to do. And I think one thing I do want to do kind of moving forward is I want to do a play that I loved from the upcoming games and a play that I hated from the upcoming games. So kind of a highlight and kind of a low light of our Giants games, guys. And I think that'll be something fun to kind of talk about and analyze a little bit. Looking forward to the next episode, probably, like I said, Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Other than that, guys, if you could, once again, please like and subscribe. Those go a long way to the YouTube algorithm stuff as far as like getting this out a little bit more. Other than that, guys, let's go Big Blue. Football is back. Syracuse football plays on Saturday. If anyone is tuning into that, I'll be definitely watching that. Let's go Big Blue. Let's go SU. Peace out, guys.